You ever feel like you're drifting, like life is just happening to you? The secret ingredient to living a full life isn't about chasing happiness or even meaning. It's about having rich experiences full of depth and wonder and awe. And you don't have to wait for these experiences to be graced upon you. You can make them happen through this power called agency. Agency isn't about control, it's about ownership. It's about how you build the life you want to live. Agency is the bedrock of self-direction. And in this video, we will unpack the concept of agency and how it empowers you to take control of your life and achieve your goals. The moment you stop outsourcing your decisions to others, that's when you begin to take back your life. I'm Hawk. I help people own their growth and unlock their potential. Today, we're going to talk about the power of agency in your life. We'll talk about what it looks like when you're living an empowered life and what it looks like when you're not. Then we'll discuss how to cultivate it, how to embrace it, and how to put it into action. Let's start with a definition. Agency is the innate capacity to act independently of cultural influence, of suggestion, of expectations, in order to make decisions and set goals and plan and carry out your next steps based on ever-increasing funds of knowledge. You use agency when you choose a career path, when you choose to pursue certain hobbies over others, when you choose whether or not to get married, when you choose whether or not to have kids, when you choose what to spend your money on or what to save it for. You exercise agency when you choose what to eat for lunch. These are very small bits of agency, but a lot of people just settle for these things. And that's the absence of agency. Agency is about personal growth. It's about taking ownership. It's about possessing a sense of control, but not a rigid control. It's more like taking responsibility for your life. It's a state of being in control as a sort of custodian, a caretaker, or a guardian of your own self and well-being. You are the keeper of your own success. It's about taking responsibility for your elevation, and it empowers you to shape your future. So if agency is about ownership, what happens when we don't claim it? I want to talk about what it's not. Like, what is the opposite of agency? What does someone look like without it? How do they live? How do they behave? I have 4 examples of what someone looks like when they don't possess agency. And the first example is when someone settles. If you are choosing the safer, more familiar path, not because it aligns with your values, but because it's easier or it's expected of you, that's an example of settling. I kind of settled with my college of choice when I went to university. I went to the one that was nearest the house, and I was applied to just the one, I think, because it was just a hassle for me to fill out all these forms and send them off to all these colleges. It was more work than I was willing to do at a young age. I sacrificed my agency, my powers to choose, and I just defaulted into a space of, I'll just go to the university next to the house, you know? So I limited myself in that way. I could have gone to who knows where. I didn't apply myself to find out what the greatest university I could have attended would have been. I sacrificed that choice for myself. And looking back, I wish I had actually applied to at least 3 or 5, at least have had a choice among choices. I don't know how it would have changed my life. I could have gone to a really prestigious university, maybe. I don't know. I didn't know because I didn't try. And so I kind of wish that I had. Settling often reflects as a surrender to circumstance rather than a conscious decision grounded in self-awareness. I didn't go to my university of choice because I chose not to. I made a non-choice, which still resulted in me going somewhere, which was good, but who knows what else could have been possible had I actually exercised my agency. I hadn't developed that sense yet. I hadn't developed those executive skills and functions. I don't think I even consciously chose not to apply to the other ones. I just didn't. So if you find yourself saying, I guess this job is fine for now, I guess I'm doing okay with this career path or this occupation, it's fine. If you're just saying it's fine, even though the job drains you, or if you stay out of fear or habit, you're not exercising agency. Second example is drifting. If you're letting life happen to you, if you're moving from event to event without intention or reflection, if you're saying to yourself, if you find yourself thinking that that you're just reacting, if you're living a reactive life rather than a creative one that is driven by ownership and a sense of direction, like you know where you're going, you know where you're headed in this life, the latter would be agency. The lack of that, if you don't know where you're going, if you're just drifting aimlessly down the river, you're a drifter, you're drifting. That is a lack of agency. Third example, if you are living by other people's expectations, if you are making life choices primarily to please your parents, or to please your teachers, or to please your spouse, or to please your boss, or to please your congregation, if you are making the choices in life in order to placate and please other members of society, then you are living by other people's expectations. And in effect, you are outsourcing your decisions to someone else. You are letting someone else decide your trajectory and path in life. Even if it looks successful, it's not your life because you didn't choose it. You didn't make that choice. Unless you did, in which case only you can decide. But also I would say to that, don't lie to yourself. If you're making a decision because it's deeply rooted in your personal values, which you have chosen, and someone else didn't choose those values for you, then great. Good job. You're exercising agency. But if you're just going along, that's another form of drifting. It may look like a positive form of drifting, but it's still drifting. So don't lie to yourself. The worst lies we tell are those we tell ourselves. The fourth counterexample of agency is learned helplessness. And we see this a lot with kids. So that's the belief that your actions won't make a difference. And so you stop trying, right? Kids grow up in this autocratic system in which parents and teachers and adults are telling them what to do all the time. And so they don't really get a whole lot of experience making their own decisions, being able to make their own choices. I've seen a number of students who just completely sacrifice any sort of agency whatsoever. They take responsibility for nothing. Unless an adult tells them to do so, they don't do it, which is really sad. I've seen that in like 14-year-olds, at which point, kids are on the cusp of adulthood, in which they should be making mostly their own decisions at this point. But I've had students who won't even brush their teeth unless their mom tells them to. And it's like that. Those were exceptions. Most kids aren't like that, but I have seen it. People who just completely sacrifice their ability to choose, they outsource it to someone else. And adults, they take it. In fact, that's another thing of society, is that people who are in power will take your agency if you allow them. They will take your ability to choose. If you put it out on a platter for them to take it, they will do so. That's just how power systems work. It's not easy to claim that power, especially once you've given it back, once you've given it up. We could go on a whole tangent on society and the power of voting through agency. I'm not going to do that in this video. But I guess my point is that our world isn't built to make self-direction easy. Power structures will take it from you. Let's talk a little bit about the impact of external forces since we're on the topic. There are a lot of societal and cultural pressures out there in the forms of external expectations. That is what your spouse, lover, parents, teachers, boss expect of you. There's societal norms, what we consider to be normal in society. And social media perpetuates a lot of these cultural and societal pressures. That's why I try not to be on it too much, actually. I try to limit my social media exposure, because a lot of scrolling down the wall of Instagram or Facebook, it's littered with social expectations of cultural pressures and normalizing things and saying what life should be, what it's supposed to be. But all of that, if you give into that, then you'll be a drifter again, adrift down society's expectations, right? And these forces can limit your agency. They can make you feel judged. They can pressure you to conform, and they can make you feel trapped in your own life. So it's important to recognize and challenge these influences personally for yourself. You don't have to go out and like picket, like riot in the streets, or, you know, you like call out your weird uncle on Facebook. You don't have to do any of that. Just inside of your own skin, inside of your own mind, to be able to challenge these influences of saying like, well, is that true? To think about it critically. Is that a realistic expectation of humans around the planet, or is that a realistic view of the world? We have to recognize and challenge these influences on ourselves. And we take people's feedback through a sieve, not through a sponge. Okay, so if you receive feedback about how you are in the world, because it's all feedback, everyone's telling you all the time about how they expect you to be, you can take it and just let it wash through you, right? It just comes and it hits you and then it goes. And it only lasts for a short time, even if it stings. And sometimes feedback does sting. But it's not permanent. So take it through a sieve, let it pass through you, and then make your decision. You don't have to hold on to other people's expectations. That's not what it's about. That's not agency. If you let other people's expectations drive you, you'll find yourself in a place living a life that you don't want to live. Maybe you're doing that right now. Maybe you find yourself in that position. I know I did. I'm sure many people have. So let's talk about how to build the agency muscle. It's a habit, and it starts with simple steps, but you have to be consistent. So cultivating agency in a practical way, in its most basic form, is it looks like setting realistic goals and then breaking them down into actionable steps. You have to define the specific objectives and create a roadmap to your success. It's what we call a plan, right? So a plan or a roadmap ends in a goal, and it's broken down into segments, phases, milestones, right? Like if I'm driving from New York to California, you're going to make multiple stops along the way. Each of those stops is a milestone or a phase, and you break down those steps along the way. You have certain objectives that you're trying to meet. The next thing is to practice self-reflection and identify your limiting beliefs. So you have to examine your internal dialogue and challenge negative thoughts that erupt in there. You know, thoughts are just thoughts. They don't have to be like, you don't have to identify with them. We all have weird, strange thoughts, or things that like drive us to like, oh, this is an emergency. Learning how to listen to your thoughts like feedback and just like let them go, just let it run through the sieve. It's a valuable skill to have. You don't have to identify with them. You don't have to run after them and chase them. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm 25 years old and I'm not married yet, so I have to go get married right now. Or I'm 38 years old and I don't have a girlfriend. I don't, what? Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You have to challenge that inner critic, the thing that tells you that you're not good enough, or not smart enough, or not wealthy enough, or strong enough, or big enough, or small enough, or whatever, and let it go. Realize that that's just a thought running through the ticker tape of your head in your mind space. And in a while, if you let it go, it will be gone, and you won't think about that thing anymore. The last thing is that you do have to embrace discomfort and take calculated risks. Driving from LA to New York is going to involve some risks and some cost, right? Using that metaphor, you're going to have to pay for gas, probably going to have to get a hotel. You got to sit for a long time. That's discomfort. And you may get lost. There's risk. That is true for any journey in life. But you have to embrace the discomfort. You have to take calculated risks. Don't just take stupid risks. That's dumb. Think about them. Be smart. Think critically. That's where your plan comes into place. If you write your plan down, you've got your benchmarks, and I actually use check marks. I just check them off. You'll get to where you're going. I want to share with you a story of one of my students. Her name was Destiny. It still is, I'm sure, unless she's changed it. Destiny was in my last year of school. I had her last year. She was a sophomore, and she started the school year saying, she just had this like mood about her. She'd come into my classroom and she'd just kind of pout. And I went in and I knelt down to her desk one day and I was like, hey, what's going on? What's with your attitude? And she's like, nothing. It's not you. I just hate English. I'm an English teacher. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you want to tell me a little bit about that? What's that about? Why do you despise English so much? She said, well, I used to really like it, but the last few years I've just had some teachers that made it not fun. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I can definitely get that. I've had my share of bad English teachers. And so I invited her into this space. I told her, like, look, I'm not like most teachers. I'm not going to make you read a book that you don't like reading, because I wouldn't read a book that I don't like reading. I'm an adult. I get to make the choice of what I get to read or not read. I get to make the choice of what media I let into my consciousness. If there's something I don't want to watch, I have the power to go somewhere else, to not watch it, to watch something else. That's the power of being an adult. You get to choose. And as a teen, formerly a child, who is always told what to do every day of her life, no one, I don't think, has actually told her that before, that she gets to choose how she gets to live her life. You get to choose what you want to read, right? By the end of the year, I guess what I'm getting at is, by the end of the year, I saw this transformation of this girl where she actually became one of my best students. She learned to love to read again because she got to choose what she got to read. She encountered books that she didn't like, and she had the power to put them down and close them and put them away and pick up something else, which is an immense power to have, to be able to choose, And so many people just give that up because I don't think they ever really mastered it to begin with. We rob people of their ability to choose way too early in life, and we give them the power to choose way too late. You're 18 before you're considered an adult, and before that, you're a child. What sense does that make? That the difference of 1 year, from 17 to 18, you gain all of this power to choose in life. It's a skill that is cultivated over years. We should be offering children choice at a much younger age, so that we don't have all these adults who don't know how to choose things. Agency is a journey. It is not a destination. There's no on your 18th birthday in which now you have agency. Now you get to choose everything for your life. That's not how it works. It's not a political thing. It's a psychological thing, and it has to be developed over time through practice. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery and continuous growth. Your future isn't written. You're writing it right now with every choice you make. Every decision, every action you choose to take is an exercise of agency. So I'm going to encourage you to actively cultivate agency in your life. I want you to challenge your limiting beliefs. I encourage you to set goals and to take ownership of your success, of your progress, of whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's learn a new skill, learn an instrument, speak a language, get better at your relationships, learn how to have a conversation. I'm really going to encourage you to adopt a mindset of self-empowerment. You have to believe in your ability to make a difference in the world and create the life that you desire. If you're living a life that you don't really care to keep living, why are you doing it? If you're tired of going to this job that you hate, why are you doing it? If you don't believe that you have the ability to learn what you want to learn, well, there's your first step. You have to learn to believe that you can. That's step 0. Look, if you want to go deeper on all of this, I've got a few things that my colleagues and I have been cooking up for you. You can explore them at our website, explore.mykajabi.com. There you can get access to our free self-compassion course, is what we view as the bedrock of learning. If you're going to engage on this journey of self-improvement and development, you have to be willing to fail. And that begins with self-compassion. It's designed to help you set the foundations for lifelong, deeper learning. When you get access to that course, you'll be added to our waitlist. You'll be notified when we launch our first mini course, which is designed to improve your growth in any skill of your choosing. It's going to be something along the lines of learning with confidence or confidence in learning or building confidence. It's going to be about confidence. All right. So we're offering pre-orders to purchase that course, to access that course. You're going to get a discounted rate. You'll receive weekly email updates with new content, insights, and ways to get involved. Plus, you'll be on the inside track to shape our content and community as it grows. I'll be actively leaning into my community so I can differentiate their needs and provide them with as much learning value as I can. So do that right now. Get to our website, try the free self-compassion course, and pre-order our confidence course. And remember, the best learning doesn't come from answers. It comes from better questions. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.